As a recovering drug addict, I've had to learn how to make good choices and good decisions. I've had to learn a lot of new tools and habits in order that I can move forward in life, in day-to-day life. Now, someone that's not been through drug addiction would take all these things for granted. They're just standard adult behaviors, I guess. I didn't have any of those. And one of the big decisions that I've had to make recently is to leave the anonymous rooms. I've been going to the rooms since I was in detox. They recommended that we done it a couple of times a week, and they took us to a CA fellowship. And it was great, it served its purpose, but I didn't find my recovery in the anonymous rooms. I found my recovery in that detox facility, the counselling, the psychotherapy that I had. I then left the detox facility and I went to a rehab for 48 weeks, and I didn't waste a single moment of my time in that rehab. I studied, I listened, and I watched other people. I watched their patterns of behaviour, and I learned from people that had more recovery than me what I needed to do to get myself clean and well. They say stick with the winners. In my first rehab many years ago that didn't work out for me, they kept saying stick with the winners, stick with the winners. I didn't know who the winners were. How do you know who a winner is? Because tomorrow somebody could relapse. God forbid that happens, but it's possible. Over the last 20 months or so, I've learned that the winners are the people that do what they say they're going to do. They don't just stand there and preach. I've met so many people that will stand there and say, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do the other, but they're not doing it themselves. I find myself not being able to trust these people because their actions don't meet their words. So whatever I say, whatever I do, I make sure that I'm doing that myself. Or who am I to tell other people that they can and can't do that if I'm not doing it myself? If I'm not living proof that that particular method works, how can I put that on other people and suggest that they do it? Because they won't believe me. It's not sincere and it's not honest. And honesty is indeed the best policy. And I've had to learn that, through a life of crime, through the fighting and the crimes that we committed when we were teenagers, what I did through my early 20s to the DVLA fraud, when it all came on top for me when I was 28, 29, my first time in prison. That was all dishonest. It was all me trying to beat the system, trying to make money quickly, trying to be who I thought people wanted me to be. And I've had to learn who I really was. In my recovery, I've had to find out who Chris Buckland is, behind all the masks, behind all the violence, the anger, the tempers, behind the drug abuse, behind the homelessness, behind everything I did. Who was Chris? And I found out who I am, and I like who I am. In fact, I love who I am, not egotistically love. I don't go around and go, look at me, look at me. I share my experiences in life in the hope that other people will maybe learn a lesson or two in how to do what I've done. I have a great life now. I've popped up to the marina here today. It's just up the road from where I live, purely because it's a beautiful spot to sit and take a video, and I'll spend a couple of hours here wandering around by the water afterwards. Now, someone said to me the other day that relapse is part of recovery. Relapse is not part of recovery. Do not get that one wrong. Relapse is part of addiction. Using drugs, alcohol, or any illicit substance that changes the way your brain thinks and your mind works is a relapse. That's an addiction. It's not part of recovery. True recovery, you won't want to use. You won't want to drink. You won't want to take a substance. You won't want to feel different to how you normally feel. If you've done enough work on yourself, you should be happy enough to not ever want substances again. I know it's just for today, but just for today, I don't ever want substances again in my life. I don't feel the need to go and take a drink or a drug. For me, it was crack cocaine and heroin after the alcohol. I don't feel the need. That's not my go-to anymore. I've done so much work in the last 20 plus months. I've retrained my limbic system. I've retrained my brain to no longer crave substances. They're not my answer to anything. I've had a particularly tough month, 5 weeks, we've had to bury one of my friends. My girlfriend's sister passed away. We've had to go to that funeral as well. I lost another friend from Loughborough recently. I've been hospitalised with my leg again through the cellulitis. I nearly lost that leg, my left leg, just over 2 years ago. I was hospitalised for 8 days. My leg went black and they were talking about amputating it. So the fear that was in me about losing my leg again, I was hospitalised, I had to sit in there. They gave me antibiotics and touch wood, I'm actually okay and it's on the mend again. There's been a few other situations in the last couple of weeks that have really been testing. You know, I was told that my share wasn't appropriate in a CA room. That was a bit of a kick, I'm not gonna lie, that wasn't nice to hear. To each their own, that's their opinion. I've had to navigate round that as well and accept that, you know, if that's what they thought, that's what they thought. But it's come as one of the last and final red flags for me to go into the anonymous rooms. I've done the 12 steps, I completed them earlier this year after being in recovery for, I think, 13, 14 months. I've done the 12 steps, and they're great. I'm not knocking them. If they work for you and you work your program, that's fantastic. But I've had a lot of people reach out from the rooms and say, you're not going to meetings anymore, Chris, you're going to relapse. That is what I'm trying to get away from. Trying to tell me what I'm going to do through their own insecurities. I came into recovery wanting to find total freedom. Freedom from addiction, freedom from a life of crime. Freedom from the person who I thought I was and find the real me. True freedom came and comes without any ties to anything. If someone's telling me that I have to go to an anonymous meeting to stay clean and sober, that's not freedom. That's me relying on a meeting. That means I haven't done the work myself. That means I'm not ready to leave the rooms. Personally, I feel I am. It was a big decision. I ran it past my parents, who are very close to me on this journey. There was a time where they didn't even speak to me. Now they do. They actually gave me the keys to the family home 2 days ago. My mum walked up to me, I was there having a coffee, and she said, I've got something for you. I was expecting a pack of chocolate biscuits or something to take home. And she gave me the keys to the family home back. That's trust. I've earned that trust back from my parents. Where once there was an injunction out against me in their road, if the neighbours saw me, they were to ring the police and I'd be arrested on the spot and put in prison. You know, that's how bad things got. And for my parents to turn around and trust me wholeheartedly, to have the keys to their house and said, whenever you want, just come by, let yourself in. If we're not here, sit down, have some food, make a coffee. This is your home. And that's what recovery's brought me, you know. It's brought me the trust of other people, the trust in myself. I trust myself to make good decisions. And as I said, I've got choices and trust back in my life where I didn't. I woke up in the morning some 2 years ago. Every day I was waking up and all I wanted to do was use drugs. The first thing that, before I even got out of bed or even opened my eyes, I'd be looking for my phone. Where's my phone? I need to ring a dealer, I need to ring a dealer. Then so I'd sort out who was awake or who was active, we used to say. Then I'd try and find the money. I'd beg from my mum, I'd beg from my dad, I'd try and find a friend that would lend me 20 quid, 30 quid. If I'd just been paid through the benefit system, I'd withdraw all that money and I'd go and spend it all on, I'd try and make it last, but it normally lasts me about 2 or 3 days. Worst case scenario, if I felt I had to do it, I'd go out and steal. I'd go out and steal meat, cheese, coffee, anything that I could sell to get enough money together to get drugs. That's how bad life was for me. It's not anymore. I had no choices. Now I do. Now I choose to live. Now I choose to be a better person. Now I choose to be the best version of me that I possibly can be. I do my utmost to help as many people as I can through this YouTube channel, through my Facebook page, and through TikTok. Anyone that reaches out to me, please do, and I'll do my best to help you as well. Thank you for watching, guys. Please do like this video. Put some comments on. I'd love to know what you think of my journey so far. Thank you very much.